aspects of customer issues and computer issues and installing TV systems at people's places. Yeah, I got in touch with Formlabs about 2 years ago. Since then, we've grown from about 50 people to over 200. And now we're in a spot where we have to line ourselves up for future growth by creating the services team and creating the sub-teams and putting a structure in place for future customer retention, but also customer growth.
Excellent. That's one thing that I feel almost everybody is used to. Is just kind of like in the industry, you almost always came from something else. Like you almost always transitioned into it from like another field, from a slightly different role. And now we'll kind of go backwards down the line. So if everybody can give a just a really quick overview of the tools that you're using, any of the primary things that are used by your team, as well as the need that they're solving.
So in my case, I'm obviously overseeing a couple more teams. We have on the direct customer side, we have Zendesk and let Roxanne go into it a little bit more. We recently started, about a year ago, we started implementing Slack, and me working with among different teams and also among different countries. The need for instant messaging was also instant replies for everything was very high. So Slack is a big one. We use that across the company, across to communicate with our manufacturing facilities, our office in Berlin, Germany, and also our folks across the country. So Slack is a big one. Zendesk on the ticket side of things, and then also Jira. It's an engineering tool mostly. Use that to funnel feedback back from the field to the engineers, and then also try to close the feedback loop in terms of what went wrong and how can we implement that and how can we improve that on the customer support side. And then as a startup, we use a lot of Google tools. And it's a lot that has grown quite a bit, but we're in the process of trying to remove a lot of that. So just to cut back on the amount of Google Sheets and Google Docs that are floating around and trying to streamline everything. And I think those are the big ones that we're using.
And so quickly, so people know, with Google Docs and Google Sheets, what's the primary thing that you're using this for? Even though you're trying.
So I mean, either way, I mentioned we started using Jira now. We used to use Google Sheets for issue tracking.
Oh my god.
Quite successfully.
Do you work for this company as well?
For years, so it's like a kraken.
We track projects in Google.
And it's still very deeply rooted within Formlabs. But trying to get away from that. But the biggest thing was issue tracking. And so issue tracking, when the engineers want to see something breaking, if something breaks more often in the field, just put it in a Google Sheet and send it to us. So we're trying to get away from that. Jira is one side of things, and trying to see where else we can cut down the use of Google Sheets.
Cool. Mike, what about you?
Yeah, so it's funny, the Google Sheets, we were very much in that stage, and we still are a little bit. We're still using like our Google Docs for certain revenue documents that come in from finance that we're tracking to see, month to month revenue growth. But aside from that, we're using Slack for internal messaging. We've really customized Salesforce. We just hired a phenomenal sales ops person who has done a great job helping us integrate all of our tools into Salesforce. So right now we're using Looker, which is a big data aggregator that pulls in things that we find really important that to help us show what we perceive as our customers being really sticky. So things like custom time series, things like logins, things like that, and number of hosts that are up. Like that's all how we gauge stickiness. So those are being pulled automatically to Salesforce. We also have things. So we're using Zendesk for ticketing. We're using let's see. I know I'm missing a bunch. We're using again, primarily it's the Salesforce things that we're pulling in. We're also starting to pull in those revenue documents into Salesforce. So right now, Salesforce is our Bible, and we're really stuck in it. So things like that are everything that we've used in the past has since been filtered through. I would say like Looker. Oh, Intercom is another one that we use a lot too, to check logins and use logins. But those are the main ones.
And I think that when I originally looked at your list, that was one of the things I found very interesting. Is a lot of it was kind of sales-based things.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if you.
It's because you have two sales guys who are running the.
They're just like, this is what we've used.
We're using Salesforce, so just get over it.
And were you also using Crystal Nose? Was that?
Oh yeah. So yeah, this is a fairly new one. So Crystal Nose is anybody here familiar with Crystal Nose?
No.
So Crystal Nose is one of the most interesting tools out there. So what it does is you actually sync up with your LinkedIn, and when you go to other people's LinkedIns, it actually shows you best ways to communicate with that person. It shows you what their personality is based on like tweets that are out there, Facebook posts, their LinkedIn history, and it shows you some key terms to use while you're emailing them and things like that. So Crystal Nose is a great one. If
Is it just spelled Crystal, like Knows?
Yeah, Crystal, Crystal, like crystal ball, and then Knows.
Okay, so like the crystal. Okay.
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
awesome. I will tell my sales team about that.
Yeah. So
I'm really serious. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, we just started using it.
And it integrates with Salesforce?
So it interfaces with your LinkedIn, and if you guys are using Gmail, it also will interface with your Gmail. So when you pull up their email address, it'll like pretty much help you write the email to that person.
Well, what if like, sorry, can I?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you've got another kind of very, very quick, but we'll try.
Sorry, I'll ask later.
No, totally. And the other one too that I missed was Pattern. Pattern for note taking. So we've replaced Evernote's in like Notepad with an app called Pattern, which sits on top of Salesforce, and you can pull in. You can have a note, your notes from your call, and they'll sync up to that opportunity or whatever it is that that account that you're working on, and it pulls directly into Salesforce. It's another good one.
And one thing as well is like for anybody that is wondering about the tools and stuff like that, if you don't have a pen with you or anything like that, we will be posting up a list of all of the primary tools that people use, as well as like a little bit of info about them, and we'll also do some Q&A at that. So.
Come find me after too, and I'll show you what it looks like on my.
That's so cool.
And then he'll try and hire you.
Yeah. And you'll get first.
Okay, Roxanne.
So as Sebastian mentioned, we use a lot of Zendesk. That's our bread and butter all day, every day. My team is about 6 people, and we're what you would more think of as like traditional customer support, so all of the incoming customer requests via email. So for our back-end, like e-commerce side of things, we use Magento, which has had good and bad points. Our sales team also uses Salesforce. The other thing we use a lot of is Asana for productivity across the company. We specifically use that to interface with the other companies we work with, such as our repair centers and things like that. We also still use Google Sheets. My team mainly uses Google Sheets for internal inventory management. We set up a replacement parts system, just kind of winging it about a year ago. And it's been improved since, but we're still just tracking everything in Google Sheets because everything just gets sent out manually from our office. I had one other thing I forgot. Oh yeah, that is a huge one. So Text Expander and Breevy for Windows. Is anyone familiar with those? Okay, they're amazing. Oh my god. So basically, you write an abbreviation. And then whenever you write that, this program will automatically fill out whatever text you want. So for repair instructions, for just different introductions, like .rocks is, hi, my name is Roxanne, thank you for reaching out to us, and all of that stuff. And it makes it really easy to customize your responses without sounding robotic. It also saves you a lot of time.
And just typing out emails.
They're amazing. They've saved us so much time.
And because we have 2 people from Forum Labs here, is there anything like as far as your role? You mentioned that you're doing a lot of interfacing with other companies that you work with. So are there any major, as far as like needs and stuff like that? Are there any major things that you're dealing with that Sebastian is that kind of like differentiates the tools that you're using?
Well, so one of the things specifically with the different repairs that we handle, And every person, every company has ways that they, even within Formlabs, has ways that they use Asana specifically differently. For example, like if we want the web team to get something done, we'll create an Asana task, but if you don't ping them directly to Slack or something, they might not ever get to it. Or like with some, you need to add a due date, or else they'll never see it. So it's a lot of just like getting to know how each person uses different things. With the different companies, a lot of times like they'll share one login because there's only 3 of them or whatever, and like they use it differently from a different repair center, and so we use a lot of templates in Asana. So we'll create the master task with all of the subtasks. One of our team actually created a Chrome extension that will do this automatically for us. That interfaces with Jira and things.
We use a tool called Savior.
Yeah. So rather than having to copy and paste, or to duplicate an Asana task and then copy and paste everything from Zendesk, it will do it all automatically. And that has saved us so much time as well. But a lot of it is just like keeping the processes smooth. We're not the ones to check off this Asana task is complete. They have to do it, otherwise they don't know where it is.
And Julie, what about you?
All right, yeah. So a lot of the stuff that's been mentioned, Zendesk for ticketing, we use UTrack internally for our personalization company and some of our kinds of professional services. So tracking those personalization campaigns that we're creating, we utilize UTrack for that as well. And then we have HipChat. I think we're the only HipChat users probably in this room. The hippity chats, as we like to call them. Yeah, so we're the cool kids over here with HipChats. We definitely are using Google Sheets quite a little bit. We're moving away from it. Mostly it's tracking for clients kind of in Excel sheets where their campaigns are and what the status updates are rather than sending a billion emails. The biggest tool we use at Evergage is Evergage on Evergage because we're big fans of the movie Inception. So our tool allows us to track what people are doing inside our application and then provide real-time information for us, as well as doing pop-ups, info bars, call-outs, and inline message page changes that can kind of head off any customer success like a ticket that might appear. We notice somebody struggling, XYZ happens, we can put a little inline message to do that. So we utilize Evergage a lot on Evergage, full bidirectional sync with our Salesforce. So we utilize Salesforce quite a bit as well. That's kind of our Bible as well. That's everything in there is the truth. Anything else is complete nonsense. So that's where most of our tools kind of live. Did I miss any of the ones I listed out?
I think that was most of them.
All right.
So.
So, I think when I originally emailed, I only emailed a couple tools. We use a lot, and just to give everyone some background, Wistia's customer success team, as it is right now, is relatively new. So, I mean, you guys laughing about Google Sheets and Google Docs. Joke's on you. We're really using them. But one of the first things when I started was, all right, we need a system of record, and if someone sends me another Google Sheet, I'm going to lose my mind. So luckily we used HubSpot marketing, and through that we actually didn't have a CRM before, so now we're using HubSpot CRM. And also to give you some more background, our sales team is very new too. So we're evolving in parallel, which is fun. And so if I were to think about what we are most dependent on, I'd say that our focus and our hub of customer success is HubSpot. And it's because we have a place to track companies and contacts, and it integrates with Gmail, so you can email and have everything sync back. Much of what you can do with Salesforce, it's kind of like Salesforce Lite, if you will. And we see a lot of value in it being connected to the marketing tools, so being able to send out campaigns and create landing pages and things like that. So certainly HubSpot, system of record, learning how to do a lot more in terms of workflows that are both internal and external facing. But other tools, certainly Slack. I'm really impressed with the amount that we have integrated with Slack, which brings me to our support tools that we use, Help Scout, and we're actually migrating to Zendesk. If you want to talk more about that, you can talk to this guy Aaron over here. He's been having nightmares about it. Since the time started. But the great thing about Help Scout right now, and I'm sure Zendesk eventually, is we get notifications for every rating that a support champ receives once a ticket is answered. So we see all this feed come through, which is really it's great for the champs, and it's we can all congratulate everyone, and keeps the bar very high. And also every purchase that's made on our platform goes into a Slack channel, so we can see a feed of that as well. So that's interesting. And so that's Zendesk, Slack, HubSpot. We're using Intercom, Mixpanel. Gosh.
Yeah.
Text Expander. Margo wanted me to mention. She also loves Text Expander. But I think the important thing that I've been thinking about a lot is how can we make sure that we're not looking in a ton of different places to get the information that we need. And so the more integrations, better, I guess. But the more that things can integrate with each other, and we can make we can optimize the tools that we have. That's really what we're trying to do right now.
Yeah, and that was one thing I definitely noticed about your list is a very comprehensive one. It was HubSpot, CRM, as well as marketing, Intercom, Help Scout, Delighted, Slack.
Oh, right, Delighted for NPS.
Trello, and Google everything, which I think,
Yeah.
I think that most people have some sort of
Exactly.
setup
Yeah,
like that.
Trello also for team management, project management. It's really nice to be able to see across the group what everyone's working on, delegate and track progress and things like that.
Awesome. So hopefully that gives everybody kind of like a general idea of like what people are working with, what their teams are like. And so now we're going to get into a little bit of fun here. We're going to do a few rapid fire questions, which is, just take that with a grain of salt. Like, it'll be rapid fire as in, instead of doing like full paragraph, try and keep it down to like about a sentence or something like that. Just we want to get like a general idea for what things are like, and also kind of like make sure that the pace is going fast enough. So I'll just like call people out. I'll have people go through a couple of questions, and then we'll go on to another one. So Roxanne, why don't we start out with you? What is a tool that, or what tool did you use most today? Or yeah, I guess today. And what did you use?
Today specifically, I used Evernote the most.
Okay.
So another thing my team does a lot is bullet journaling. So I'm keeping it short. And I've started doing that in Evernote, just to track productivity and make sure everything gets done.
Cool. And Mike, what about you?
Today was mostly Slack. So yeah, a lot of Slack.
That's the real
So
answer.
we also we integrated our Datadog Twitter with Slack. So we have a Slack channel. Every time somebody tweets with the hashtag Datadog or @Datadog, we see the full feed. So I've been living in there lately and just trying to navigate the right customers.
Cool. Holly, what about you?
Delighted.
Delighted.
We're trying to figure out the right cadence to survey our customers, and we're going to launch a major all customer survey for tomorrow to benchmark against last year's. So configuring that, making sure I get all the emails, making sure no one gets an email that they got yesterday, stuff like that. We all love that.
Cool. All right. Now we'll switch up to another question, and so Julie, favorite shortcut in a tool that you use?
Oh,
like
of course you have
shortcut
to go
or
with
special
that.
tip or anything like that?
Giphy and HipChat.
I was gonna say that
You're
for
the hero.
Slack. Yeah. I just taught my.
Okay, do you mean people or?
Nope. Totally appropriate.
Yeah.
And also that means you would transition over to Slack just fine.
Yeah,
You would
for sure.
absolutely love it.
That's
Sebastian,
super funny. I
what
was
about
thinking the
you?
same thing.
So favorite shortcut in a tool?
Like Command Enter in Gmail to send an email. Yeah, and you can also probably ask me all of the shortcuts in Excel.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
Consulting background.
Because you've got them drilled
Because
entirely
I got
into your
them
head.
drilled in, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think Command Enter.
Command Enter.
That's
Nice.
boom, send them out.
Really good to simplify things like that. Mike, what about you?
Command space for calculator.
I use that too.
It becomes
On a
search-
Mac.
yeah,
You have to use a
it becomes
Mac.
search bar, but if you do, you can do arithmetic on it.
I do that all the time.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty amazing. Okay. Allie, we'll get back to you. Are there any idle tools on your computer, and why? And I should say, like, kind of like apps that were put there intentionally, as opposed to like video. I'm assuming that. Well, actually, yeah. Yeah, I was like, I'm assuming that you would not be opening up the Apple video tool.
Yeah. So idle tools. Yeah, they're actually the one that most recently comes to mind is Intercom, and I think that it might be because we're not using it correctly, or we don't know how we should use it. There doesn't seem to be a need for the in-app messaging as we used it before, and we don't use the support tool. We don't. There are a couple other features that we don't really need. So, their in-app notifications was one thing that I thought of and said, hey, I want to be keeping this for this reason. Then realized that Mixpanel could do that, and we're starting very basic. We're not trying to bite off more than we can chew right now. So, that's certainly one, and I think that we have other means to communicate with our customers that seem very effective. So that's unfortunately idle right now until we can figure out otherwise.
Cool. Julie, what about you?
I think it's ScreenFlow, because I used to do recordings for clients to show them how to do stuff, but now that our support documentation's been redone, I don't need to do that as much, so that's a good problem, I think.
Yeah. Roxanne, what about you?
My computer's actually fairly new, so I recently went on a purge of these. But we recently got rid of Zopen for Zendesk Chat because we realized hardware tech support over chat is a very bad idea. And so we recently killed that, and I have a Windows 10 app for Asana that I never use, so I just use the website version.
Mike?
It's probably the G Drive app on my desktop, just because I'm trying to not use Google Sheets anymore.
So
I've
you're
deleted it. I just use
intentionally-
I'm just trying to get rid of it. So that's idle.
All right. Cool. Sebastian?
It's actually text expander. No, because how my role developed, and for me it's less about sending like the same email or the same kind of email structure over and over again. Right. So it's less about I have to message more customized and less macro based. So I actually I'm not really using that.
Mike, what is one tool that you would recommend for people to try?
If you're Salesforce based, I would recommend Pattern, just because of the way of how seamless it integrates from a note-taking perspective. And then everybody seemed pretty piqued by Crystal Notes, so I recommend Crystal Notes.
Yeah. Roxanne?
As a personal thing, I would definitely recommend bullet journaling for everybody. It's just a really awesome way of streamlining what you need to get done each day and prioritizing everything, especially when there's more work to do in a day that you can get done in a certain amount of time you have. The other tool I personally use that I love, there's lots of alternatives, is Giazo, which is a selective screen cap tool that can do GIF and photos, and it also has photo to text capabilities. And
Photo to text? What does that mean?
so you take a screenshot of text or something that may not be copy pastable or something, and it'll turn it into a URL. It's your URL or just like a paragraph of text that you can then edit.
And what's that called?
Gyazo, Gyazo.
So like gyoza, but yeah.
Yeah. It is $2 a month.
But you're not supposed to eat it. Roxanne, what about you?
Julie.
Sorry.
Hi,
Julie, yeah.
I'm the ginger.
As I slowly slide back.
So I mean, aside from Evergage, because that's kind of what I do in life, I would say that I forgot to mention our product management tool, which is aha.io. So that allows CS team to make product recommendations that the engineers see, and then they see where it gets moved through the queue. That kind of helps with that transparency of product development, as well as the customer portals for customers to make suggestions as well.
Do you also have Jira? That?
We are moving now. We did Jira, then U-Track, and now we're going back to Jira. So yes, we will soon. Yep.
Ali, what's a new or upcoming tool or feature that you're excited for?
Huh. Switch up the question.
Boom.
New upcoming tool and feature. So I'm particularly excited for us to switch to Zendesk because, well, selfishly for the integration with HubSpot and being able to see the feed in a company and our interaction and then any outstanding tickets, resolved tickets, just seeing that all in one place. I'm all about things being in one place. So that's something that I'm very pumped about.
Sebastian, what about you? New or feature?
So yeah, we're also using Zendesk obviously, but on our support side, we're not using Zendesk. We're actually managing our support side, all the articles and whatnot, in our regular content management system. So what's missing for us a little bit is actually the user way of navigating through our site and then creating a support ticket. So if someone creates a support ticket, we don't really, unless we're using Google Analytics, we don't really know what was the way of the customer to creating a ticket. So we're actually in the process of moving back to the Zendesk, I think it's help desk, that's what it's called, like the Zendesk support page, and we obviously have to customize that so it looks like according to our site standards. But I'm excited about being able to see what are the customers looking at, when are they creating tickets, and to actually see the support interaction, and making sure we can customize our site better to those needs.
Yeah. What about you?
So we also use Yesware, which was a tool I didn't mention earlier. So they're going to be rolling out, according to their blog, some new templating features. So when writing emails, for those who don't know, Yesware, they're an email tracking company, and you can basically put emails together and template them out, and then send them on. They'll track them, let you know who opened them, how many times, things like that. So that's huge for what we're trying to accomplish, and their new templating features are pretty big for us.
Awesome. Roxanne, what is your primary user communication? Is it chat, email, phone, something else?
99% plus email.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we do offer a extra service, a paid service, a subscription which offers phone support. So with my team, we try and keep it 99% email to partially not devalue that service, but also because, like I mentioned with chat, it really is best over email because we are asking constantly for photos or videos sometimes. There's a lot of information we need that can't be transmitted quickly.
Julie, same question.
I think it's 50-50 for me. I do a lot of GoToMeeting. I didn't mention. We do a lot of GoToMeetings where we kind of talk through the strategy and success outcomes and making sure my clients are getting the value of it. So there's nothing better than that it's not face-to-face, but like that conversation face-to-face is the best. But then there's a lot of email follow-up and then email outreach for new features and such.
Same question. This time you don't get to switch up.
All right, great. Wasn't ready. So mainly email, but more and more phone communication. We're trying to get on the phone with our customers as much as possible. That's actually something that we're starting to measure: how many engaged customers and how many customers book recurring calls with us and things like that. So, email at scale, but phone when we can.
All right. Now I'm gonna jump over to kind of some like more deep dive questions. It's going to be stuff where you can pretty much take a little bit of time, like answer a little bit more of the stuff. We can go into a little bit of the things if there's anything super pressing. People can jump in just quickly so that we can get a little bit of clarification. Sebastian, I'll start out with you, and with these, I'll try and have everybody hit on them. So with your team, what are the primary needs that you're responsible for, and how do the how are you using the tools to solve those needs?
I mean, for my team, it's bridging the teams and making sure the teams communicate among each other, because we have, as I said, we have customer care and customer success and professional services, so paid-for support. So, but those teams still have to communicate among each other, even though most of them sit in the same room, but then we have a team in Berlin, time difference. So we use Slack for that, different Slack channels depending on what you want to talk about, and also since we are a hardware company, we have engineering in-house, and all of our products are relatively new. So some of them break, not all of them.
No,
but
right.
something breaks, and since we've been shipping them for maybe half a year, so there are things break that we've never seen break before. So we need to find out relatively quickly, because we are dealing with the customers who are angry because most of our customers are professional customers that use the printer to run their business, to prototype things. So if that thing is down, then they either don't make money or also can prototype the thing. So we try to get them a solution as quickly as possible through Slack, so pinging the specific engineering channels right away, or via Asana or Jira to escalate things. So we rely heavily on those, and for me, it's very important to bridge the gaps and get out of the siloing and the siloing mindset of different teams.
And with it also sounds like, at least with some of how the teams work over there, you also have to adjust the communication based upon the teams.
Yeah, so I mean, the biggest challenge with Slack is that it's great as it is, but if you have communication, at some point someone is going to put a Jiffy thing in there, and it's like, it's over, and you lose track of what's going on. So depending on what issue it is and how you escalate things and how important it is for everyone to know, it's important to find the right channel to ask and also the right channel to respond. So if something is very important for the team to know, it's probably better to send an email to the whole team than to ping at all in Slack, because that gets lost in the shuffle very quickly.
Yep.
So yeah, you have to kind of know how to talk to which team. Because if you ping a developer on software team in Slack, they could lose their mind. They get in the zone in programming, and then if the things pop up, they hate that.
Yep.
So for them, it's more like sending an email, because then everything is organized and under one issue. So that is still an ongoing challenge with us, especially with for a company that's growing so quickly as we do, to get everyone aligned.
Yeah.
But that's something we'll have to be mindful of.
Yeah. Mike, what about you? What are your primary responsibilities? What are the main things that your team is looking after, and how are you using tools?
Yeah. So as soon as sales closes a deal of that falls in the category that we manage, it'll come over to our team. So we'll use Slack internally to set up a time to sit with the sales team or whoever sold the deal. Get a little bit of background on it. We'll also be looking in Salesforce and look at what Yesware has tracked from the sales perspective to see what their communications were, what they've talked about in the past, and try to get a little bit of background before we reach out to the customer. So then from there, it's our job to then reach out to the customer and onboard them. So we're going to have our initial conversation with them, and what I've tried to implement is having them use Crystal Notes so they know what type of person they're dealing with, and how to best approach them and best communicate with them from the gate. And then so they hopefully are going to have their initial kickoff call with them, and the initial kickoff call, the notes will all be taken in Pattern, and Pattern will go into Salesforce. We'll obviously also look at any Zendesk tickets that have been opened prior to the initial reach out to make sure we're not, opening up jumping into kind of a bee's nest. and they don't have a bunch of tickets open prior to us, reaching out to introduce ourselves. So, and then from there, it's we're using again Salesforce and LinkedIn and a number of other tools, Zoom Info, to try to find other teams that might be able to use Datadog. Because again, my team is primarily tracked on the growth of our existing account base. So we'll be also, like I said, managing the account from a training and onboarding perspective, and at the same time trying to grow that account. So.
And from what it sounds like with your team, sounds like that you have a lot of responsibility for the health of the customer as well as expansion within that client. So it's kind of like you have to be able to see what's going on with that person and be able to adjust. However.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why integrating these tools into one unified platform like a Salesforce, and whether it's Salesforce or a NetSuite or whatever you guys are using, it's that's why that stuff's important, right? Because it goes back to I don't want my team going to 10 different places to try to find all of this info. I want them just logging into one place, seeing all the info about the customer, and then they can get on to the next one and reach out to that person and continue on their day. So when we all kind of, I think it sounds like we're all in the same boat where we have a humongous toolkit, and finding that silver bullet, which I don't think exists, but finding like one unified tool that we can aggregate everything. And we're using Salesforce for it. Might not be right, but that's what we use. That's what's shown the most success for us so far.
So we live and breathe Zendesk, like I mentioned. So my main responsibilities include workload management for the team. Since there are 6 of us handling pretty much every single non paid for support ticket, there's a lot of work to be done, and basically if we want to keep the customer as happy as possible, if we want to solve their issues as quickly as possible, my team needs to be able to work efficiently and to be up to speed on everything as soon as possible, especially with things changing so frequently. So one thing that's really come in handy is, beyond Google Sheets, is Zendesk Apps. We recently upgraded to Zendesk Enterprise, also, which allows us to have customized forms on the customer side, as well as a couple other things. So with the Zendesk Apps, for example, we have a section where we can see customer notes, which go across every single ticket that person has open, because frequently people will open many for the same issue, and we have to merge them all down. Also, the most, like the 5 most recent, as well as some customized ones, such as creating a Jira task specifically from the Zendesk interface, which has been a huge one for us.
So kind of like transitioning the information between the different teams, as well as making sure that your kind of part of your team's role is just unifying that information.
Yeah, I mean, we bounce around between many different tabs and many different windows just as a necessity, because there's Zendesk, there's Magento, there's Asana, there's all of these things, because the tickets can range anywhere from where's my order to help me with this deductive reasoning thing. Here's a photo, tell me what's wrong. So sometimes that is just like delving deep into the annals of what our system was like 3 years ago to find out their serial number. But so a lot of it is just whenever we can consolidate things to do so.
Team communication. I want to make sure I get the answer right.
So essentially, what's the like for you? What's the like the main responsibility for the tools you're using?
Okay. So I'm doing a lot of like customer success. I own a portfolio of clients, and I'm supposed to make sure that they renew, and potential upsell opportunities are my responsibility as well. So I use Evergage to assess that, and then also looking at Zendesk, making sure that those tickets are getting done, making sure that the clients are getting updated. U-Track stuff is moving through all the projects that I'm shepherding through the campaign creation process are getting done, are probably the big ones, and then a lot of hip chat. Hey, can I get an update? Hey, can I get an update?
Yep.
Client has a question for those quick support tickets come in or emails come in from clients, and like I'm fairly confident I know the answer, but let's just put this in the support engineer room and get a yes no real quick before I say the wrong thing. So just a lot of those pieces as well.
So customer success at Wistia, we want to be tracking customers from when they're handed off from sales all throughout their life cycle. We want to be looking at adoption and the features that they're using, and more importantly, not using that they should be. And we're also really focused on delivering education and content at the right stage of the life cycle. So, HubSpot has been huge for us being able to define different stages to move a customer through. And, we're using things like Mixpanel to understand what features have never been used. They've never touched very important things, so we're going to message them and work with them on things. And, aligning content and webinars and help docs and things like that throughout a customer's life cycle to make sure that they're getting what they need at the appropriate time. So, video hosting, we're pretty lucky that the core of our product is very easy to use. You upload a video, you customize it, but there are certain things that customers don't do, or they should be really optimizing or thinking twice about. So we're certainly trying to identify those things and message them in the right way at the right time. So we're going to be using more automated in-app tools for that, whether it be Intercom or Mixpanel. But then one thing that I'm thinking about is HubSpot's sequences in their CRM. It's basically a campaign flow that they go through. Text expander, Margot, it's all about that. And another great thing, in a world of Google Drive and Google Docs, the documents feature of HubSpot CRM, where we can upload and keep our core, files and things that we always send to customers handy, that we know, like, this is the one that you use, this is the updated version. It's nice to have that all in one place.
Maybe Ben, real quick, we were just talking in the back, and Amelia's actually with events and the folks hosted a bunch of different events, and so we've grown the crowd over time as we've been doing these events, and this one's kind of unique because we're learning about a lot of the tools that you guys are using. And I thought, just really quick, I want to get a sense in the crowd of, raise your hand if you've learned about a new tool you've never heard of so far. Okay. All right. Now raise your hand if you use more than 2 tools each day, every day. More than 5 tools, keep your hand up. More than 7 tools, keep your hand up. Okay. So we just want to get a sense, because I personally have already learned at least about a handful of tools. And I think that a big goal of today's event is all about toolkits. And one thing we're definitely going to do is send a lot of what we learn. But you'll keep your eye out. We're going to also survey you guys, because we learned about a lot of tools from just these 5 members here, but there's probably a crap load of tools that you guys know about that they haven't even mentioned yet. And then they're all being used. There's pros and cons of each of them. So hopefully Amelia's going to send out some surveys afterwards, but you'll get a mixture of both. The names and links to kind of what they taught about, and then hopefully crowdsource more. Because that was a big goal, I think, when you guys launched this meetup, is how do we create a community, because this is the sort of the black sheep, or the ugly stepchild of the SaaS industry is customer success. Is so new. So it's been awesome so far, just kind of hearing from everyone about the tools we don't even know about.
This has been, well, also another thing that's amazing too is, as like everybody's been saying, like, there's so many tools that are just things that you're already using, or things that like you, just very simple things that it's like, oh, this could be used for anything, like ways to copy paste, ways to make it easier to fill out information, ways to just do your own pasted together integration, because you can't find an integration between different tools. And that's going to be something that's going to be amazing to hear from everybody in the group, is like, what are the things that you have, like what's the duct tape that you have that we should know about, because we already have these. So that's going to be absolutely great, and we'll definitely be having surveys and stuff like that going out, so we can kind of bring it together. And another thing along with that is we are trying to improve the communication with the group. So we'll probably be switching over to Slack channel because everybody loves that. And that way, anybody who's using HipChat can already know what it's like when they're transitioning over. Because honestly, one thing I totally have to say is I'm in 4 or 5 different Slack groups now between like friends, professional groups, and other stuff. I still don't know how to use Slack. I've got no clue. So I will be very.
Out of curiosity, who feels like they actually know how to use Google?
Google?
What?
Oh, I'm a pro Google.
No,
You mean like Google the
Sheets,
search?
Drive,
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Sharing stuff. I'm like, who am I sharing this?
See, everybody's like, pretty much every company uses it. Nobody actually trains anybody on it. We all think we know how to use it. Guess what? No one in the room, myself included, actually knows how to use it well. Where, like we said, we all these Google Sheets problems of where are they and what are they called and how do you cancel a calendar appointment without telling them. And there's all these little things that no one knows about. The tools you think
All right,
you know,
I
there's
have
still
a
more to learn
question.
about.
How do you get Google Calendar to work like super efficiently with Outlook Calendar?
May the odds be
You
ever
stop
in your
using
favor.
Outlook. Stop using Outlook.
Yeah, tell the pharmaceutical
That's-
industry to stop using
yeah.
Outlook. Okay,
Yeah.
not gonna work.
Even with like integration.
Do they have Outlook and you have Google?
So I love Google Calendar
Yeah.
a lot, and I'm totally pro using it.
Yeah.
Among all the people in my company who also use it, it's
Okay.
great. It's the fact that like the one issue that like the hump I can't get over, and please anybody in the room tell me. I will send my client an invite because they've told me that they're available on 2 p.m. Wednesday, and then they write back to me, and they have a feature on Google Calendar where they can, or on Outlook Calendar where they can say, actually, I want to do propose new time.
Yeah.
So I get an email that says, you know, Kelly Garris at AstraZeneca has proposed a new time, doesn't want to meet you at 2 p.m., and that's all I find out.
Yep.
And she knows what time she proposed, but I don't know what time. And I write back, I'm like, can you tell me what time it is?
I actually use Calendly for that, for any client scheduling, so that when they can go in and log in and propose a new time, and then it updates automatically on my calendar if I'm available. It just saves me.
So you actually make your
hours.
clients like log into a new
No,
tool?
they have a link, so they
Okay.
can just click it, and they don't have to log in or anything. They get sent it, and they just log in, and they can like propose a new time, or if they log in again, and they can find a new time that works, and just like I'll see that, and I'm like, is this 2 meetings? Cancel the other one.
And I'll do that before even proposing a time to them. I'll just say,
Calendly.
here's my Calendly, like, you pick a time. So.
What is it called?
It's called Calendly.
Yeah.
Calend.ly, yeah.
Oh, Calendly. Got it.
It is seriously save probably about 5 to 10 hours a week of just scheduling back and forth emails and rescheduling and everything.
So you can actually share your calendar with someone who doesn't have access to your calendar.
Free busy. And you set so many parameters. You say, I'm only taking 5 meetings a day. I need 15 minutes between each of them. Like, I could do a whole session on how to use all the features of Calendly. It saves your life.
Thank you.
So
This is exactly what I needed.
Session on how to use Calendly. We can all look forward to that, and we'll actually jump into Q&A now.
I have a burning question.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to know if any of you have, I guess, transitioned to a different tool, a completely different tool recently, and what was that migration like? Because my company is looking to transition from Intercom to Zendesk, and it's looking like a huge, scary thing. We have to get like developers involved. And, like, what do we do? So I'm just wondering what the process was like and how you handled it.
Yeah. So for for transitions, and I know that we have people that are transitioning from Help Scout to Zendesk and other things like that. So can anybody answer questions or provide any useful guidance as far as transitioning tools or?
I've been on Zendesk my whole life.
Zendesk for life.
Yeah.
We transitioned from HipChat to Slack.
Well, there you go.
We did Skype to Slack.
We transitioned from Health Scout to Zendesk and we survived.
Nice. We did actually Zendesk to Service Cloud as a part of Salesforce. We actually hired a consulting company to handle it.
Wow.
Okay.
What?
And the reason that we switched actually from Zendesk to Service Cloud, if I'm getting that name right, is because of the reporting feature with Zendesk. It wasn't as strong. So as you grow as a company and you scale, the challenge we ran into is we have these partners that want to know more about their own users, and we weren't able to round up that reporting in some sort of unique passion. So,
That's an issue we're finding with content reporting. It's just literally not there.
yeah.
Like,
With that said, Zendesk recently implemented a partnership with Good Data.
I know a lot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is, yeah.
Yeah,
And it's increased a lot of what you can look at, but it's still, for some specific companies, not as granular as,
Yeah.
you know, product or role or user type.
And that's
Depends on the problem.
that's one thing I've seen. That's one thing I've seen a lot with good data is that you have to know how to use it.
Without getting too meta to answer that question, I think with Zendesk, I would just take advantage of their own support team, and they also have a customer success program. And if you just voice like, "Hey, we're scared. We don't know what's going on. We're not even quite sure if this is the right decision," they'll set you up with like weekly meetings and figure out which features are you having trouble with, bring in feature specialists, get you support tickets where you need it. So I would just take advantage of the teams that they have that are supposed to be, then you'll learn something new. Maybe I should do that with my own customers.
Actually, it's a really good point. I just want to touch on that. We all use lots of softwares and we reach out for help. That's a great way to figure out what your organization is doing well and opportunities to do more things is how when you need help, what worked and didn't work with other software vendors. I've learned a lot as we use probably 17 different software day to day, like I'm not exaggerating, and every so often you're breaking something or troubleshooting another, and when you interact with those vendors, you're like, oh wow, that's a really cool idea, I should probably do that with my clients.
that's another question, actually. I feel like I'm really hating on Intercom. But like
But people really use it all the time.
Their customer support is the worst experience, and they're like meant to be a customer support program, and they will wait like 4 hours or something to get back to you if you sent an instant chat.
Really?
Yeah, it's really bad.
Try TriNet expense reports. That will give you a run for your terrible customer service money.
You gotta go expensive.
What?
You gotta get rid of that. Go expensive.
I think we're moving away from TriNet.
They're the best.
Well, we use TriNet. It's like our HR anyway.
And we still use Expensify. It's unbelievable.
TriNet expenses. I work for a software company. I can't use it.
And they will do pretty much any help desk to any other help desk. Really good import too. It's really affordable. Now I'll just keep it on the hush hush. I'm pretty sure their costs are nothing, so you can usually negotiate them down.
They won't be around.
Either that or whenever they sell it.
Yeah,
I don't know if support driven to like
your
community.
what?
So if you go right out the store and down to the elevator bank,
Lots of people there
that
that
like
have those
they're right
transitions
in.
and support driven is great.
If you go right here, left the elevator bank, then the right is it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm in that.
there you go. So support driven.
Another question?
I haven't heard anything about internal knowledge sharing. It's actually something I'm kind of shocked about. It's like nobody mentioned Confluence, nobody mentioned Google Sites, nobody mentioned any other kind of solutions out there. I'm interested.
I mean, people mentioned Google Drive.
People did mention that doesn't even count.
Yeah.
I won't even count it.
Yeah, and that's a really great question. I did hear mentions about moving back to Zendesk.
So one key thing for us is going hopefully to have Zendesk help desk or Zendesk knowledge base, and actually recently hired a person to take care of that and revamp that completely because using Google Drive is not the way to share knowledge.
External or internal?
Internally, but I want to build it out so that what we use internally is also be used externally, not just for our customers but also for our reseller partners. And then with the Zendesk has features where you can grant access to several different levels. So there might be some things that we don't want to disclose publicly. So that can be used internally or a little bit more than for the resellers because they also do support, and then less for the customers. So that is the goal. That's where we want to be at, but that's not really possible with what we're currently using with the support side is our content management system already.
And that's one thing with Zendesk is that they do a very, very good job with the permissioning. You can have a lot of control over that, and you can also do language control as well, which can be very important for some companies.
How clear is it when something is exposed to like an fully external group or only to an internal group? That sounds like it'd be confusing.
I can tell you more in a couple months when we've done that. Right now, it's like,
So Zendesk has 3 categories. You have categories, sections, and articles. That's how everything's broken down. At the section level, you can control what type of user has that permission based on user tags. And then like when you're logged in, I think essentially as an agent or admin, you see a lock, and you can see, okay, this is limited versus public, and then from the limited, you would have to dive in.
Yeah, the hardest part is just implementing a good structure with the sections categories, because once you start a structure, it's really hard to redo. So our company has used Zendesk for a very long time, and we're in the process of rebranding the support aspect, the client-facing support, and that's the hardest thing. Everybody thinks it's the tool, but it's all about the content, you know. If you want to create a new website, what holds it all back is the content. If you want to launch a new support site, it's working on the content, and the best thing is finding a mix of new staff members for this internal stuff, and new customers helps you really learn what makes sense, because you're used to searching for things with a certain term. You may refer to that term, but that's not the generic term clients or new staff members are referring to. So those are all these great opportunities for bringing that fresh perspective, but that's the hardest part I found with is content management.
We use Confluence for internal. We also use Brainshark to record kind of like, this is a customer use case from start to finish, like here's all of the things that went into it, and kind of like brain dumps, as we call them, for successful customer interactions or anything to do with it. And that's been really helpful for sales, and it's been really helpful for training new CS team members to hear kind of like what's worked in the past and how we went about doing that.
no, sorry, I didn't catch, what was his name?
Chad.
So yeah, what Chad said. I think using new hires as a way to like really take have a fresh eyes on things, and using that to cut down the number of apps, but also reshuffle things, reorganize things is always a great way to do it. So we try to, like, every time we hire someone, and go through onboarding, and like go through this feedback phase, and like how can we optimize things, and how can we aggregate data better, consolidate data better, and use that.
So that way you've got a internal tester who's right there where you can give
fresh eyes
feedback.
And one of my favorite things about us using the Help Center now is there's an app in Zendesk that will read the subject line of an email and automatically give you the top hits in the Help Center right at the sidebar.
Oh, cool.
So you don't need to go looking for it. And you can just copy and paste.
I think it's interesting with the internal, knowledge-based question. It sounds like folks have different working definitions for what the internal knowledge base's purpose is. And I'm curious, so I guess my specific question is, when you're onboarding a new team member for your customer success team, what knowledge base do you guys use to educate them on all the different software tools that you're using to get them ramped up as quickly as possible?
So I recently redid the way customer care onboards people. It's now a 4-week training program. We're currently on iteration 2 with a new hire in our Berlin office. But it's a lot of hour-long or 45-minute-long sessions with people specifically on individual tools, since we use like Asana so much and there's so much depth to it, that actually having that in their first week before they ever answer an email, understanding how we work first off. And from there, up until it's been since then that we started the Help Center. But before that, we had a intranet using Google Sites, and I basically started them off on a gradually getting harder and more complex and using more tools path where they had to go and find the instructions to do something. And we're iterating on it, but it seems to be working.
We have just a very specific training where we take it's about a week long, maybe a little less depending on how fast they pick it up. Where we're solely going through what we're using for tools, and then it's a lot of shadowing. We really don't let them take on any customers until we know that they're up to speed with Looker, up to speed with the tools that we're in every day. And then we also have it's actually customer facing, but it's just help.datadoghq.com that is our top knowledge base articles. So it's really what we get every single day, and they're pretty much living in that as we're bringing them on. It's go through these top 20, read all of them, understand what the most common use cases are, and then how would you go about finding out that information using our tools? So we'll have them come back to us, and you know, before they reach out to a customer, they'll test it out through us. And it's so far it's worked well.
HQ.com.
HQ, that's our website. Yeah, do.hq.com.
All right, so we have time for one more question.
What are some of the information that is missing from Zendesk reporting that you would like to see? You don't have access to.
Someone's starting a business.
Well, so I recently managed, I recently did the entire thing on going into good data on a very deep level, learning Macl, like all of the metric programming stuff. When you're coming at it blind, like without any SQL or database knowledge, it can be very intimidating because the documentation doesn't explain the why behind things very well. But I've actually found that through using that, I was able to get a lot more information, such as like the number of public responses sent per day, or per person, or whatever metric I define. And so just knowing how to dive into that has opened up so many avenues that were previously closed.
I would love to have customer level, like if you have multiple levels of customers like we do, knowing that customer level title, like having that, like when the CMO emails about you've done something, you kind of want to like up to it. So being able to bring that information in some context. Is this a champion or is this a brand new user? Like how do we frame those pieces? Like what's their usage level? All those things would be so useful.
All right. Well, right now I'm gonna just kind of wrap up a little bit, go over the people, but we're also going to have a little bit of time to meet up with anybody that's hiring. So I'll explain that in just a moment in case you're desperately looking for a new job. And then, but also it'll give everybody a chance to kind of like mingle if you don't have to rush off to anything else. So first, I just wanted to give a huge thanks to all of our panelists today. So. And just to go over who we have again, we have Ali Knoll from Wistia. We have Julie Hayes from Evergate. And we have Roxanne Barrett from Formlabs. We have Mike Connell from Datadog. And we have Sebastian Fritz also from Formlabs. And speaking of Datadog, want to give like an absolutely huge thanks to them. They were super, super kind, getting food for everybody, sharing their beer with us, as well as letting us come into their space and check out their kind of amazing views.
Yeah.
Like,
kind of?
Understand
Big shout out to
right?
Marissa for putting it together.
Huge
Oh,
shout
yeah.
out to and I will say this a couple of times, they're hiring. So you definitely want to be in touch with them and talk to them. And also huge thanks to all the people that do so much work in planning this and organizing this. Brandon, that one back there does a totally killer job. Also, try to all of you guys, everybody's been super, super helpful. And like I said, we're going to be trying to get more information out to you, provide more resources. This was incredible. Just the amount of information and the amount of detail that everybody's been going into. I think that we roughly got through maybe like a third of the questions that we had lined up as potentially stuff. Yeah. And that doesn't even include all of the stuff that I know you guys were waiting to ask. So we're going to be trying to find ways to better connect with everybody. Make sure that you're on our newsletter if you want to get updates and information. Check out the website. So that's boston.csxcs. It's .org, I believe. Yeah, and also follow us on Twitter.
There's just something I want to say. Ben and I are very new to and we really want to create like a really great community for everybody in the customer support and customer success field. So, I mean, we're learning. We're always looking for people to give insights or help. You know, there's a room full of people who have such deep knowledge in all of this sort of stuff. So, you know, you can reach out to Ben or I. If you have any feedback about this event, anything you want to discuss, any ideas you have, any way you want to contribute, if you want to host, if you want to speak, we would love you to reach out. Like we're, you know, we love that. So, you know, I think we're just want to quickly. So, you know, we just love your help, and we're so grateful that everybody came.
And we're always looking for speakers and ideas. We're always looking for more information that we can share, and just talk to us. Like, there's a ton of different ways of getting in touch with us. Yep.
I just wanted to clarify one thing. Chad had mentioned the support-driven Slack channel, which has a Boston local group, and you mentioned maybe starting another one. Would that be separate?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
so support-driven has their